Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time reviewing on season 4 of Spirit Riding 3. Now, as you know, Spirit Riding 3 season 4 released on March the 16th, 2018. And the best way I can say about season 4 is that it knows where it needs to kind of take time after season 3, but shows the importance of family, legacy, and what you truly want from the family. And I think the best way I can see, the first episode is how it's dealing with the aftermaths of season 3, where we do see how Lucky helps out at Mr. Winthrop's ice cream shop by giving ice cream cones as well as sundaes, but offering people advice as well as guidance, but knowing how deep down it isn't going to be easy, how some people might not understand it, or sometimes it might not always work out the way she intended. And the best way I can also see, the second episode, Lucky and the Train Tycoon, is how understanding how some families react to their own family members. How, as soon as she meets her grandfather, James Prescott Sr., we do see how her father, James Prescott Jr., tries to handle it more understandably, but still has some oil and gripe. Well, we do see Aunt Cora trying to handle it more professionally. And we do see how after the aftermaths of season of the at the end of episode 2, we do see how it plays effect in the first 2 episodes. And we also see how, as soon as Aunt Cora feels like she has failed the family, we do see how the importance she had in not only her brother's life, as well as Lucky's, but we do see how Lucky understands that she took her own aunt for granted and doesn't want to kind of see her go, but understand the importance she had in other people's lives. And we do kind of see how, in the last 2 episodes, Lucky and her new family, when she understands more about her mum's connections with her circus family, as well as seeing and understanding the importance that her mum's adopted family has. This is her finally understanding more about her mum's roots, connections, and so forth. And I think the point of the 4th season is about family, roots, connections, and so forth. Because I think when we do have, the one of the characters known as Solana, they do sort of hint and imply that her character is meant to be transgender, and I kind of think they do give a hint of a more tomboyish behaviour. You get this hint that she's kind of embraced her own identity, but it's also shown that she doesn't kind of hide behind a mask, but embraces her true self. And that's a brilliant idea. And we do kind of see how also as well, how Lucky's grandfather kind of shows to be a bit more favoritism to Lucky, but we do see how her father Jim kind of has a few gripes with his own father, but we see how Aunt Cora does try to do the best she can to show her that she did try her best with Lucky, but we do see how it plays effects to Aunt Cora leading up to the events to the first 2 episodes, and how Aunt Cora always kept the sort of family house in order. We do kind of see how Jim has to kind of understand and accept some responsibility on his part. And there is a lot more aftermaths from those first 2 seasons that plays a lot more effects. And we do kind of see how Lucky's teacher Kate does the best she can to make sure not only Jim has to be a bit more focused with Lucky, but also Lucky understanding that with these other responsibilities that she might need to kind of get her act together before any more problems end up kicking effect. And that's a brilliant idea. And I think they also do show deep down how not only does Lucky have to kind of embrace her own family legacy, but also has to be a bit more in the supporting role. And I think that's something a lot of kids tend to take for granted, and that can be a really sad, relatable thing. And I think the fourth season really tackles a lot of darker and really realistic subjects, because when you actually do have one person known as Don Trejo who wanted to marry Lucky's mum, they do kind of imply, or at least show, that he's meant to be a bit more of a darker side to his character. And you kind of get this hint that he wanted to kind of marry her to kind of keep some form of youngness in his character. And they do kind of hint Milagro was kind of forced into a marriage that she didn't want, and obviously knew she was too young for him. And this can be a really touchy but dark subject, and that can happen. It's the same way looking at Solana. They do hint that she kind of embraces her own identity, but they do kind of hint and imply, because of her own parents not accepting her for her own identity, that she wanted to be her own person. And that can be sad, tragic, and at the same time understanding, because not every family member is going to accept your true identity, and that is going to happen. It's one of those subject matters that's not going to go away. And season 4 really does capture and touch these sort of subject matters that's not going to go away, because there are grandparents who are going to accept you, but with family members and all that, they won't. Or identities, they won't. And really, I think season 4 does a lot more better after those first 2 seasons. Season 3 is meant to play the after effect. Season 4 is meant to go a bit more darker, realistic, and showing these darker subject matters. And obviously, that's still there. It's still not going to go away. And I think it's a shame we never really got to know more about Solana. And I think it's a shame that we never really got to know much about her identity. And they do kind of imply that she is transgender. And really, they kind of show that she kind of accepts her identity. But with Lucky's family, her adopted family, they accept her for who she is. They do imply from her sort of butterfly get-up that she's accepting her own true person. She is being that identity she truly wants to be. And I do think season 4 definitely deserves a thumbs up. Still good and still enjoyable. So, Comic Book Review here, signing out.